Ladies, gentlemen, and Haradrim of all ages, welcome to week 2 of the Gauntlet, with a brand new patch hitting the game as well, and even some further info from the developers about upcoming events and additions to the game. So we'll start off first by talking about the new patch that was applied to the game last night, then we'll go over some things in relation to the Gauntlet, as well as the updated map for this week's challenge trial, then we'll talk about the rest of the things being hinted at by the developers for future weeks and future upcoming time in the game. First, for the patch in itself, it's nothing overly major, no balance changes or anything like that really, mostly just a pile of bug fixes. Some fixing the accessibility options so that they work properly with the trials menu, then just fixing some unintended interactions or incorrect wordings for the Construct companion, which has honestly been an ongoing process since the release of the season, with some of the current actual changes being making it not count as a minion for Necromancers, and for the most part just getting rid of general seasonal bugs around it. Honestly, there's not a whole lot to write home about here in this list of patch notes. On top of this though, we do have the second week of the Gauntlet, which means a whole new map, a new layout, and for those who liked what we made last week, here is a map once again for you to use to plan your routes if you're someone who cares about competing in the Gauntlet for this week. It's definitely more spread out than it was last week, and it feels like they want you to open some chests on the left side with those scoring shrines over there as well, just because of where they happen to be located. So maybe they're trying to push us towards collecting a bunch of keys than just using these shrines and opening everything of value while they are up. I could definitely see that being a solid strategy, but again, it is early days. All that said, an interesting thing to talk about in relation to the Gauntlet especially, as this is not only the start of the second week, but also quite importantly the end of the first week, is the rewards and the results from the people who dedicated themselves the hardest. Here's a post from a player who says they placed in the top 100 for their class, so far into the highest bracket of loot for sure, and what they received were 4 caches, 4 items inside of each one of those caches, so 16 items total. Because they reached the highest tier of stuff, the caches were upgraded to 925 item power equipment within them, but that is still 16 pieces of 925 gear for an unimaginable number of hours spent grinding out the activity to get one of the literal top 100 scores for their class all week. Not to mention that a player who is able to do that in the current climate of the game at this point in the season doesn't really need that gear in the first place. So just to put it simply, they need to make this activity more rewarding. There is simply nothing more to be said about that here. It just needs to have cool special stuff for the people who really achieve the top spots every week. With that said, the top spots are currently also sort of tainted, as well as there is a notable bug going around right now, or at least it's not really a bug so much as just an oversight on the side of the devs that includes the way that the game worked before they put this mechanic in. In pretty much all content in the game, you can change your gear and your skills freely, but in the Gauntlet, you can't. They locked you out of doing it, and this was a purposeful decision to just remove the ability to snapshot certain affixes or effects so that the Gauntlet would be a more pure and fair and balanced experience. But one thing that they seem to have forgotten is how shrines work in the game, which is that once you have activated a shrine, nothing can take the buff that it gives you off of you until the timer of it runs out. So there are people who are activating shrines in the open world or within a dungeon or somewhere like that, finding the best shrine for their particular build or their particular strategy, activating the shrine, then using the UI to just teleport directly into the Gauntlet and start with a massive advantage over anyone who doesn't do that. And honestly, while I think it's neat that players would think of that, it also just feels like an anti-fun mechanic in the long run to leave in the game, and I'm surprised that the developers didn't fix it in the patch that went out with week 2 of the activity, the one that hit last night. It seems like a pretty big problem in my personal opinion, and it makes something that a lot of people found a bit underwhelming in the Gauntlet itself become even less exciting to think about. When you say to actually compete, you need to spend time hunting for the right shrine before each run or something like that, or that there's these weird interactions like this that you wouldn't think are intuitive at all that really have a significant effect on your actual placement. It's just it's silly. It needs fixing. I don't blame people for using it while it's there because it's the way the game is, but I do think that it does need to be taken out as soon as possible. And honestly, even then, I don't know if that will really help the activity more than it will for actually just making it better for Season 4. At this point, I think Season 3 is effectively done. Most people that were still playing the game were waiting to try out the Gauntlet, and a lot of people after trying it out, now that it's here, sort of lost the drive to push that activity, and now it feels like any sort of hype that may have remained around the season is absolutely gone. Most people have started their period of a break from the game, maybe returning for next season, maybe not, and the people who are still playing are generally doing it much more casually than they normally would be. Then finally, we have a tweet from Adam Fletcher, the Global Community Development Director for Diablo as a whole. The person he replies to is asking about the campfire chat that we were told to expect happening soon regarding the PTR, the public test realm for Season 4 of Diablo 4. Things have been pretty silent on that front since we were told that this would exist until this response, where Adam Fletcher says the stream itself about this will be next week, and the exact day and time will be announced later this week, so we'll know quite soon when specifically this is actually going to be. And that's just about does it for today then, everyone. Really, I hope you've enjoyed seeing what's going on in the game right now, and of course, if you have thoughts of your own on any of this, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world our stage. Goodbye.